in order to make $250,000 a year. It's basically one sale a day, Monday through Friday. You just got to keep it simple. You got to be a good communicator and be confident. It's not necessarily that you need to try harder. You just need to try something different. Just let my automations do my thing. That's NextLevel is probably the biggest component to my success in insurance. It does all the heavy lifting for me.
Hey, thanks so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I
no
know
problem.
I know you're busy. I know we're still in open enrollment. Still got another week left in open enrollment, so you could be selling policies. I saw you selling some even this morning, but appreciate you taking the time out and kind of sharing with the whole community here.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love helping people.
Yeah, so just kind of by way of just kind of helping the conversation flow. I know we've got some I've got some pre-written questions a little bit, but we'll just kind of let the conversation go where it goes a little bit too. But maybe you could just explain about kind of how you started in insurance, tell your story a little bit about how you got into it, what inspired you to become an agent, and okay, we'll go from there.
Yeah, well, I started selling insurance November 7th of 2020. Prior to that, I did photography, videography stuff. I toured with bands for years doing photo, video stuff, weddings whenever I could. But when COVID happened, I was pretty non essential. And I actually met Hannah, my fiance, the last weekend before everything closed, St. Patty's Day. And then I was working construction. I was working at the Fresh Market, which is a grocery store, making $12 an hour. And I felt like I was working like 78, 80 hours a week, and I just wasn't even paying my bills. And I said, dude, there's no way life is going to be like this because I didn't go to college. Where I went to high school, we had 65, 66 kids in our class. Me and my best friend Jose were the only two that didn't go to college. There may have been one or other two, but now we both run our own businesses. And I've just always kind of had the hustler mentality, I guess, is that I want the pressure to be on me. I want the ball in my hands, whether we win or lose. Like I want that responsibility.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how heavy that responsibility really was until I got into the industry. And one of my friends through church, she was my friend in middle school, plugged me into a guy named Daniel. And he was like, yeah, we're field underwriter brokers. We sell life insurance. And I was like, don't know what that is, but I'm in. And I started going in home. For the first 2.5 years, I was in home, and I just beat the hell out of myself. I mean, my shoulders still have problems. I drive a stick shift, or my arm was just constantly in
Oh
this
yeah.
position. And then I started going to telesales. And then telesales, okay, this makes a little more sense. It's more efficient. But talking about life insurance all day is draining. Nobody
Mm.
likes talking about death all day. And so I just got burnt out. And then I was going to get out of insurance. And then I was introduced by the same guy, Daniel, to Benzie, my old company I worked with. And Benzie changed my life. I'm forever grateful for that company because it really showed me the power of insurance. And I grew a massive business, and it really filled my cup because I learned that not only helping people in the client sense, but helping agents learn to sell was really my passion. I really enjoy what I do, and I never would have guessed that insurance sales would have been so fulfilling to me, I guess.
Yeah.
But some of the bigger troubles I ran into was being in home and chargebacks and no shows, and that's where telesales kind of solved that. But you still have the chargebacks, and then health insurance. Now I sell life insurance to my health clients, so now my policies are even more sticky, and it's just really kind of been a stepping stone after stepping stone. And I feel like I'm nowhere near where I can be or should be, but we're getting there,
Yeah.
and it's
So when did you switch over to telesales completely?
October of 22, and
Oh,
then
okay.
I left life insurance in February of 23.
Yeah. Okay. I
So
didn't realize you had done in-home sales for so long.
so long, and I didn't know any better because I didn't know anything about anything. You don't know what you don't know, and I was always told telesales, oh, that's never going to work in life insurance, and then everybody started doing it, and they started working. And the crazy
Yeah.
part is, I was doing in home in November of 2020, which is right in the midst of all the COVID crap we went through. And
Hmm.
so not only selling it, but trying to get into people's homes.
Oh,
And
right.
I had to talk to people through their screen door. And, I live in southern Appalachia. So you go up in eastern Tennessee, like Sevierville, that where Gatlinburg and Dollywood and all that stuff. I mean, people
Hmm.
have legitimate plywood houses.
Hmm.
And it's just crazy. I was talking to people trying to get them to spend money on life insurance when they couldn't even afford to leave their lights on. So
Yeah.
it just burned me out. I've found, pretty quickly you can't build a sustainable business off people that can't sustain themselves.
Yeah.
And health insurance has kind of plugged all those holes.
Yeah, and now you get to work from home full time, and a lot of people that know that you built a shed in your backyard, and that's where you're standing right now, right? And you're,
Yes, my shed, you can tell by the drywall, it's not real good. It's because I built it myself, but
but it's your
hasn't
kind
burned
of,
down yet, so we did a good job.
yeah, it's like your little sanctuary though. It's like a man cave, but you're making money out there.
Absolutely. And I built this shed because I was going to rent an office and they said it was $500 a month for me to get an office. And I was like, dude, that makes no sense. And so I built this for basically 1 year of rent at an office. And then
Yeah.
we moved this spring, thanks to health insurance. We bought our first house and have 17 acres in North Georgia. And
Mm-hmm.
Anna, who's our CEO of domestic affairs, she holds the fort down, and we have our daughter in a private school, and we have a son coming in April. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm gonna try not to start crying on this call, but health insurance has really changed everything for not only me but for future generations. It's a huge blessing to have the responsibility that we have. It's an opportunity.
Yeah. Well, you've definitely taken full advantage of the opportunity. I mean, you were a top producer, the number one producer at the last company. I know you're at the top of the list at the new company. I don't know where you're at, but you're definitely at the top of the list. Do you know, for people that don't know you, I mean, or know kind of a little bit about your success, but we just concluded 2024, and I know there were some disruptions during the year. You switched companies. You're over at USABG now.
You know,
What was your AP for last year, 2024? Do you know those numbers? I imagine you probably do. Got them somewhere.
pull it up in 2 seconds. I I know that I did $500,000
I know you
from
wrote
you.
500,000 during open enrollment alone. And that was
Yes.
last time I talked to you, so you're over that now because you're still posting sales all the time.
Yeah. So it looks like my submit was about 1.35 for last year.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that's incredible. So I know you get asked these kind of questions a lot, but what would you like what's your daily routine? You got to attribute some of your success to, hey, you've got an isolated workspace where you can go in there and focus, right? And get to work each day. But like what does a typical day look like for you running your business? Like are there certain practices, certain things, do you get up and do
yeah.
certain
So,
things or whatever?
that's kind of what my biggest goal for 2025 is, just to be more intentional with my time. I've recently got rid of my social media apps on my phone just because when I'm dialing, I'm just doom scrolling. I mean, if I spent half as much time selling as I spent watching people shoot deer on Instagram, I probably would have hit closer to 2 million this year.
Yeah.
But it's my process is I'm trying to be more intentional. So I go to the gym in the morning, and it doesn't really, sometimes 6, sometimes 7:30 when my daughter goes to school, because I'm trying to spend more time with her as well. And so I spend an hour. I come home, I make my breakfast, I go feed my chickens. I come in here and I look at my schedule for the day. And my schedule is kind of sporadic. And I think that's one of the harder parts about this job at first, is that people are used to an 8 to 5 routine.
Hmm.
Well, with this, the only routine is that you're going to have appointments. And I've always said the most consistent thing about insurance is that it's inconsistent. I may have 10 appointments, like today, I've got appointments all day, but I've got maybe 2 or 3 for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
It'll kind of fill up as we go. And so really I show up in the morning from about, I don't know, 9:30 to about 3, I guess. And then that's my intentional work time. I'm dialing people who have not texted or responded or whatever. I keep several lists of people to follow up with. And other than that, I just let my automations do my thing. And that's, NextLevel is probably the biggest component to my success in insurance,
Yeah.
because it does all the heavy lifting for me. And if I really think that, I mean, it's now 2025. If you're not using a CRM, and I don't use it to its complete whatever 100%, but I still use spreadsheets and my notes on my computer. But I think if you don't have some sort of CRM, then you're really inhibiting yourself. Because if I had to sit in here and text people all day long and call people all day long, I would not do this job.
Right.
Just being completely honest. I've pounded the phone before, and it's exhausting and it's depressing. And this CRM, I mean, I get thank you text messages all the time from my CRM text people happy birthday. And I'm like, what are they
Mm.
thanking me for? And I go and see it, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I don't have the time to text somebody happy birthday.
Yeah.
And that honestly, those automations, even post sale automations, have helped me retain so many clients just because it sends check in text messages. I get random referrals all the time just from those automations. And
Yeah.
so I really honestly attribute a lot of my success to Next Level. And I've told you a million times, and I'll tell you a million more. I buy Next Level because I buy you and Amir, but you
Yeah. Yeah.
you guys have really solved the problem, the biggest problem for agents, and that's organization. You know, because selling insurance is not just selling insurance. You're running a business. You know,
Hmm.
not just we're not just out here slinging policies.
Yeah.
Because I tell my clients if they're giving me an objection, I'm like, look, you got to remember I'm in sales. If you're not happy, I'm not happy because I'm not making any money. If I'm not making any money, my wife's gonna make me sleep outside. So I'm trying to make sure that you're in the best spot can't talk
Yeah.
possible.
That's the real reason you built your shed, right? In case she kicks you out, you've got somewhere to stay.
I got a heater going right now, buddy. But yeah, honestly, I that's perhaps probably the biggest component to my day to day is Next Level because it allows me to be so organized.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And like I said, before we started recording, this doesn't have to be a plug for Next Level at all. So, I know that's genuine, and I appreciate that. We try to do a good job, and it's good to hear, that it's helping you in your business for sure.
Absolutely.
So, one thing that I've seen working with you that I think also sets you apart, and we could talk about maybe a little bit of your sales process on the phone here in a minute, but it seems that you're consistent. Like you're not like, and I've known this about you for, I don't know, I've known you for at least a year and a half or something like that now, that you're not a workaholic. You don't sit there and you're not working 12, 15, 18-hour days. You prioritize your family life. You've got hobbies. I know you like to hunt and golf, and you're pretty active on social media. I see a lot of what you do. And but I have noticed that when it's work time, you get to work, it seems. You're active. So if you're not an appointment, and you just said it a minute ago, if you're not in an appointment, you're calling, you're doing something, you're following up with people, you're dialing, you're texting people. It seems like that contributes a lot to your success as well, right? When you show up, you're showing up and you're doing a lot of activity, right? Towards
Yeah, yeah.
generating new business.
I feel like in this time where everybody's attention span is so short, people give 50%, 100% of the time. And if
Hmm.
you can just train yourself, it's a muscle. And I'm not going to talk about self discipline because it's my biggest weakness. I will admit that right now.
Hmm.
But if you can give 100%, 50% of the time, you'll get a lot more done in a lot
Hmm.
less time. And
Yeah.
that's just being intentional. And
Hmm.
so that's only one of my bigger focuses.
Yeah. It's kind of you're getting yourself into that mode. There's that book, Deep Work. I don't know if you ever read that one, but it's a lot about creativity and just like blocking out distractions. Alex Hormozy talks about this too. Like he sits in his office closes the windows, brings down the blinds, puts headphones on so he can't hear anything, turns all of his notifications on and gets into work. And I think that's an interesting way of looking at it. 100%, 50% of the time. Like when you're there, work hard, be focused. Don't be like you were saying, if you're sitting here but you're working, but you're also like scrolling on your Facebook, then you're giving 50% of your time, throughout
Because
the day, or
it's
50% effort, I should say.
it's a very toxic habit, social media, because excuse my French here, but who gives a shit what other people are doing, man?
Hmm.
And that's been a hard realization for me because it's not that I necessarily care what other people are doing. I just like being in the loop. It's FOMO.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
FOMO is causing me to not make more money, which is taking food out of my daughter's mouth and opportunities away from my family. And
Hmm.
so that's where I'm trying to be more intentional with these things. And I was going to say, I have a sign on my wall over here that says, do the things you need to do so you can do the things you want to do.
Mm.
Nobody wants to call people, nobody wants to pound the phone. But I've told my agents from day one, dude, if the hardest thing you have to do is call some old lady that tells you to go pound dirt, your life ain't that bad, buddy. You're not out digging a ditch. You're not out in the cold on the side of the interstate doing road work. It's all about
Hmm.
perspective.
Right.
And again, this is an opportunity. You don't have to do this. You get to do this. And when you treat it as such, it becomes a lot more fun. This is a game.
Hmm.
After you figure out what you're doing, it's just a numbers game. Because now I know if I spend X amount of dollars per day on my Facebook ads, it's going to result in X amount of leads, which gives me a number to break down my income.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about that a minute ago that in order to make $250,000 a year, it's basically one sale a day, Monday through Friday.
Hmm.
That's insane. One sale a day. Okay, so how can I reverse engineer these numbers to get one sale a day? Well, if I spend $50 a day, and what else? It's like $25,000 a year, I guess. I'm not good at math. No, it's way more than that. I don't know. But
Yeah.
you're gonna
50,
think, was that right?
50 times, it's like 18 grand,
18 grand? That's nothing. If you could spend 18 grand and make 250, and all you have to do is call somebody,
right?
at that point, it's just a measure of want.
Yeah. I think looking at it that way too, I know when I was talking with Mason a while back, he was saying the same thing, and you said it earlier too, that a lot of people don't treat this like a business. And so like sometimes, we'll be talking to people and they'll be like, I'm not sure if I should run this particular ad or if this strategy is working, and we'll break down the numbers and it's like, oh, I made 4x return on my spend there. I just didn't know. And I know you've been doing this long enough that you look at those things, and like you said, reverse engineering. If I need to sell one policy a day, then ideally I've got probably at least 4 or 5 appointments in a day.
Yeah.
So how do I get 4 or 5 appointments? I got to do these activities.
Totally. I think the percentages that I've given roughly to agents on Facebook ads is that the goal is to close 10%. If you
Hmm.
close 10%, you're profitable. 12% is a good producer. 15%, you're a stud.
Hmm.
That's a really low number because
Yeah.
people think that they should sell every lead, and a lead is not a sale, my friend. It's
Hmm.
just a contact.
Yep.
And if you can just focus on finding 1 out of 10, again, it becomes a game because like, okay, I got another no. Good. That means I'm that much closer to a yes.
Yeah.
Then it just becomes addicting.
Hmm. So you're selling, for those that maybe aren't familiar with what you're doing, you're selling private health insurance plans to those that are typically above average income, above average health. They have to qualify based on their health.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you find those people? How do you yeah, what leads sources do you work? How do you find those people? And maybe you could talk a little bit about something that you get asked about all the time, I know, is your sales process. Like what makes you successful on the phone? Maybe just a few big takeaways. You don't have to go through your full script or outline of what you discuss, but yeah, just some feedback there.
It's a very loaded question. So, as far as the leads I run, it's primarily Facebook ads. As far as the healthier people and money or whatever, that comes into that percentage because you can't control those things. I've found that oftentimes people who are the most high intent are people who can't qualify, and that sucks. But it's just I don't know. It's just a numbers game, and so I read something the other day that said it's not necessarily that you need to try harder. You just need to try something different. And that's what I like about these Facebook ads is that I can text you and say, "Hey, can we do this?" And the next day you've already got it going, and it's like, well,
Hmm.
man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I told everybody with going back to these Facebook ads, my job is to sell insurance. My job is not to learn how to run Facebook ads,
Hmm.
and I could not care any less about learning about that. And that's where it comes to delegating these things. And if you can find somebody that knows what they're doing,
Hmm.
but my business and my level of success is seriously, I mean, 100% honestly, largely attributed to what you have created. And so, what you started the CRM, you started the leads. I was like, I'm in day one, and
Hmm.
that's kind of how that works. But as far as my sales process goes, I mean, I usually, if somebody self books, I'll try to go for a one call close, just because I know they're high intent. The
Hmm.
hard part with that is sometimes you make yourself look limited or biased to a company. And
Hmm.
I am. Manhattan Life's my go to. I get it tattooed on my back. But And I love Manhattan Life, and that's the hard part is a lot of people haven't heard of them. And so when you
Hmm.
just go to a one call close of Manhattan Life immediately, they're like, well, why would you go with them if you work with everybody? And
Yeah.
so setting that second call is just doing a couple things. The first call, you're selling yourself. The second call, you're selling a product. These people can buy insurance from anybody in the country. Why should they buy it from you? Well, because I'm
Hmm.
not a shithead and I'm personable, and you can tell. Like, I mean, anybody that knows me knows I'm not the most professional white collar guy in the room.
Hmm.
I hush when I'm on the phone with clients, but I know that sounds crazy, but people want to work with real people, especially clients
Yeah.
that are 45 plus. They're desperate for humanity, bro. They don't want a foreigner. They don't want an automated system. They don't want any of this stuff. They just want
Hmm.
somebody to call them and shoot it straight. And that's how it is. When I call them, just like, hey, Sean, it's Brian. How are you, buddy?
Yeah.
And you just approach it like you're calling one of your mom or your dad's friends. And I'm not going to call you and say, good morning, Mr. Holm. How are you today?
Right.
Because ugh, don't say that.
Hmm.
But just approach it like you already kind of know this person, and it automatically lets down that wall they have.
Yeah.
And I really have learned to love nerding out about word manipulation and just tonality, because I could say the same thing to you in two different tonalities, and you can interpret it two entirely different ways.
Hmm.
And so the only thing this person knows about you is your tone of voice. You've got, well, I don't know what the its actual statistic is, but like 10 seconds to get the fish on the line.
Mm.
But then the psychology of it is you get them a little excited, you know, build, have a conversation, kind of seeing what they're talking about, and then you take it away. Because at the end of every conversation, and this is the biggest nugget I'll probably leave here for anybody, is I'll say, Sean, I think I have some options that may work for you, but I'm not entirely sure. Let me do some homework, and if I find something, would you rather me call you back tonight or tomorrow?
Mm.
Most other agents are going to say, I've got a perfect product. When's a good time for me to call you?
Yeah.
Well, now you have already given them the little endorphin or dopamine, whatever hit that you have something for them. So they're not as inclined to talk to you. And then you give them an open ended question as to when should I call back? It's the same way as talking to your kid. I'm not going to ask Ivy what shoes she wants to wear because she's going to come out wearing who knows what. You know, Ivy, do you want to wear your brown shoes or your purple shoes? You want me to call you tonight or tomorrow? And
Yeah.
then the previous part to that is I say, Sean, I think I have something. So it's showing some uncertainty.
Yep.
If I find something, would you rather me call you back tonight or tomorrow? Because then I'm locking down the either or for tonight or tomorrow. But when I call them, they're excited to hear what I have to say because I found something. Because they're
Right.
thinking, well, he may not call, and if he doesn't, it's no big deal. But when
Hmm.
I see my name pop up, it's like, oh, let's see what this guy has to say.
Yeah. Found me something good.
Yeah. And then I give my little pitch and I say, hey, I don't even know if you're going to get approved for this, though. I'm a field underwriter, not an actual underwriter. This has to go through a 3 or 4 day process. What most people do at this point is submit an application.
Hmm.
And when you take it away
Yeah.
like that, people are, oh no, I want it. Let's sign up right now.
Yeah. Not salesy. You're not pushing. That's such good stuff. Because you're not pushing the sell, right? You're giving them a little bit of scarcity. You're withholding a little
Yeah,
bit.
there's no reason to push it because if they want it, they're going to buy it, man. And if you force them into it, they're going to cancel. And then you're going to get pissed off and jaded.
Hmm.
And then you just get burnt out and it's just a downward spiral.
Yeah.
So people want to work with busy people. Even if you're not busy, my schedule may be wide open. And they say, well, I'll give them a time like 9. Can I call you tonight at 7 or tomorrow at 10? They'll say tomorrow at 10. Like, wait, never mind. I'm booked right there. Can I call you at 11?
Mm. You'll
Just,
do stuff
just,
like that. You'll sometimes throw a little.
just to mess with them because I
Yeah.
can. And but when you do stuff like that, hopefully none of my clients watch this video, but when you do stuff like that, it just shows that you're you look busier than you are.
Hmm. Yeah.
But
Makes sense.
you
Makes
just got to
sense.
keep it simple, man. You're a shepherd and not a salesman. You
Yeah.
shouldn't have to convince somebody to do it. The same way a shepherd's not going to beat the shit out of the sheep to get them to go a direction, because if you just show them the right way, they have no reason to not trust in you and believe.
Hmm.
It's only
Yeah.
weird if you make it weird. You're the professional. They're looking to you for an answer.
Yeah.
If I called the doctor and said, or go to a doctor and he's like, well, I'm not real sure,
Hmm.
it's like, what? you know?
Yeah.
And you just got to keep it simple. You got to be a good communicator and be confident. That's the biggest thing. Like I lack confidence in a lot of areas in my life, and but not sales. I
Right.
And sometimes it comes and goes because sometimes I feel like I can show up and sell snow to an Eskimo.
Hmm.
Honestly. And other days I show up and I'm like, I I don't know. Like I
Yeah. But you've
couldn't
been
sell.
doing it long enough that you know that you'll come back up, even if you have a little rut or something, or you're not confident that you'll find your groove again. I don't know if I saw you post this or if it was a conversation we had, but you were saying the other day, sometimes on Monday, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing until I make that first sell, and then in the new week, and then I'm back in it.
100%. I mean, I took 2 days off for vacation, last Thursday and last Friday, and I came back yesterday and I was like, dude, this is awful. Like I feel like I know nothing. I talked to my first person and I totally messed it up. And then after about 30 seconds, I just kind of snapped back into it, and I could feel the change. And
Yeah.
you just got to keep your foot on the gas. You have to be consistent with this, and
Hmm.
if you're not, you're gonna get rolled. It's all about ultimate accountability. I think the biggest quote that hit me the hardest was, "The business is a reflection of its owner," and I hold myself to a very high standard that I do not feel that I meet 95% of the time.
Yeah.
I think
Probably
that's also
normal.
why I'm good at this is because like I desire this. Like I dream about sales sometimes. I can remember dreams where I'm giving pitches, and this sounds so crazy, but I obsess about it because this is my craft.
Right.
And the better I get at it, the less hard I have to work. So it's a win-win, and the more money I make, and the more carrier trips Manhattan Life takes me on. So
Yeah.
I'm in,
Yeah.
and so I really really love this.
Yeah. Well, I think anybody that's been exposed to kind of some of your methods that you've shared and that you've explained on this call is you've talked about being personable, and that really shines more in what I've seen you do versus many agents, and being confident, even saying like, How's it going, buddy?" It's a little bit of like a posturing, a confidence thing that you feel comfortable calling somebody that. Any sort of like turn, like a nickname, or I don't know what you'd call that, but something like that just kind of explains, or kind of just shows that you're loose. You're not too worried about it. And I think a lot of newer agents, they get so nervous and probably desperate for the sell. And then, the more you learn about sales is you do have to be confident. You can't be desperate for the sell. You do need to communicate some scarcity. You need to communicate your value, like that you're in a position of power. Like you don't need them. They don't need to buy from you. You couldn't care less. But those are things that come with experience and success that a lot of agents can't replicate naturally, so they have to try to force it a little bit. But I would suggest to anybody in sales is like truly just be yourself, because you try to force it and people are going to go the other way. And so it's going to hurt you no matter what. So just it's the successful people are confident. You're not confident because you're not selling. So therefore, what do you have to worry about? Like you can't fake it. So just be normal, talk to them like a real person.
You got nothing to lose. You don't know this person,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just about being transparent. You're a
Yeah.
problem solver, and I think that another big thing new agents struggle with is that a client may mention a need for a colonoscopy, and then they start talking about cancer benefits. The agent does, and it's like,
Right.
ah, you don't talk about things you don't need to talk about. And that's why the first question I ask when I get on the phone with somebody after my introduction is, why? Why are you looking for somebody
Right.
else?
Yeah.
And then you write it down.
Yeah.
Because then when you get on the phone with them the second time, it's like, hey, I know you mentioned, this problem. This is how I was able to solve that problem.
Hmm. Yeah. A lot of people want to know how you're going to solve their problems. And ultimately in this space, for what you're doing, they want health insurance that they can count on, or life insurance they can count on. For me, providing solutions to help agents generate more business, like that's simply what it is. Like, is it going to make you more money or not? And there's a lot of people that sign up for our CRM or ad manager that I don't even show them the CRM, because it's almost just like that's the tool that's going to get you there. But I want to know about your business, what your struggles are, what your goals are, and then I can talk about how it's going to provide those solutions. I could sit there and, oh, we have this particular feature that blah blah blah, and talk about it for 5 minutes, and they're like, I couldn't not care less. I just want to generate more business.
100%.
Yeah. So kind of in that vein. Well, I maybe I'll go back a little bit. I know you've got an outline, or at least you used to, a little bit of an outline on kind of your scripting. Do you, I imagine at this point you're not really reading a script, but you kind of know where you're going.
It's funny you say that because I've been rebuilding my team and I've had all these new agents say, "Well, do you have a script?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"No." And then they just kind of look at me. It's like there is no script. Everybody is completely different. And
Hmm.
if I give you a script and you just start reading it off, you just you don't sound like you know what you're talking about because you don't. And so the best way to do it, and this is where I either have agents thrive or die from day one, is that I throw them in the fire. And
Hmm.
it's like we get on the phone and we figure out, some of the basic things like an outline, what to
An
ask, when to
outline.
ask it, why to ask it. But other than that, you just have a conversation. And I think the script is toxic because it's not a one size fits all. Just like most leads are not a one size fits all, and that's why I mean I can't speak for you, but why you guys really started this and why so many people have flocked to you guys is because where a lot of us come from, the leads were a one size fits all,
Hmm.
which is not sustainable for a lot of people, even top agents. That's not
Hmm.
sustainable. And that's why I like NextLevel is because everybody is running their own race. And that's what makes you effective and what helps you make me effective as a leader is I don't have to say, hey, you have to spend $3,000 your first month on leads and you might get paid the next month.
Hmm.
No, just go sign up for this because if you don't have NextLevel or Ad Manager, you're a sitting duck and you can go ask your cousin to buy health insurance or you can just pay this fee and get it going.
Yeah.
And at that point, like it's a necessity. The same way I look at my CRM the same way I look at gas. It doesn't matter how much gas costs, dude. I have to have it anyways. And it's the same thing with my NextLevel or my ads is that it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, it does,
Hmm.
but it doesn't because I know I have to have it. And the cool
Right.
part about it is that it's people can spend different amounts per day, which is makes it not a one size fits all.
Right.
That's why I think you guys really have this figured out.
Yeah, we're trying to, man. We're trying to. We're learning a lot still all the time to try to make things better and, make agents more successful. But yeah, so I was going to ask you about something. I think it slipped my mind, but maybe we could shift into advice for new agents as I'm thinking about what I was going to ask you, but or maybe not advice for new agents because a lot of this is advice for new agents, but um, agents that you're bringing onto your team. How are you training them? What's your recruiting looking like? Are you trying to recruit right now? What kind of people are you looking for to bring on your team? Who do you think would be successful at this or not successful at this? Those kind of things.
So I'm always recruiting, but whether I'm recruiting that person or not and is depends because previously I would bring on anybody and everybody because that's how I was taught to recruit. But then I spend a ton of time feeding it because I hate seeing people fail at this because especially if they work with me because I feel like it's my fault. And maybe that's because I'm a big empath, but I don't know. So I'm trying to change my recruiting style a little bit now. And I have a very vetted process. Like I have a Google form you're going to fill out before we ever even get on the phone.
Mm,
That's going to tell me a lot about you. But I'm always recruiting. The best part about USA Benefits Group is that to the leaders they have a recruiting program, and
hmm.
so now I'm in that recruiting program, and I will continue to expand my team. And we've done a very good job at bringing in people who are new to the industry and people who are veterans. I like newer people because I can mold them how I want to mold them. They don't have any preconceived ideas of how it should be or any of that other stuff. It's like, hey, this is what it is. Get with it or get lost. And a lot of people think that may be a little abrasive or kind of an asshole, but it's okay. I'm not meant for everybody.
Right.
Um, that's why the people on my sales team are kick-ass salespeople that produce at a high level, that are intentional, self-disciplined people that know that they work for themselves. They do not work for me. My job as a leader is to keep you within the lines. My job is not to say, "Hey, Sean, are you working?" Because you work for yourself, and I know that if you're on Zoom, then you want to make some money
Hmm.
and try to meet people where they're at. So
Yeah.
yes, I'm recruiting, but I'm only recruiting the right people for our team.
Yeah. What does that avatar look like? Who's the right person generally?
Mason Wilson, Hunter Holcomb, Ashley Rubikova. Those are some of my
Mm.
favorite people in the
Yeah.
world because this is where I'm gonna get emotional. They can take a hit on the chin and keep going. They're loyal. Those are the
Mm.
people I'm going to work with. People that will stick to their guns. When shit gets hard, they don't phase out.
Hmm.
Ashley's a single mom, and she's out here thugging it out every single day, doing what it takes. And she knows that. Yeah, you know the Bible better than I do, but I always mention Galatians 6:9. It says something along the lines of, "In due time, as long as we don't give up, we will reap a harvest."
Hmm.
And I really cling to that because so many people don't understand the concept of sowing seeds. And I got a team of people that are focused on input and not results. And when you
Mm.
focus on the input, your results will come. So Mason, Wilson, Hunter, Ashley, those are the prime people that I like working with because
Yeah.
they're they're hard people, man. They have big hearts. They'll stop what they're doing to help you on Zoom. They're not going to call you out. It's constructive criticism, but we have a very strong foundation within our team, and I take a lot of pride in
Yeah.
it. And people I go to war with.
Yeah. So it sounds like people that are consistent, people that have grit, people that have passion about what they're doing, people that want to help people. I think that grit's an important piece, sales is a tough gig, but if someone's hungry and can get after it each day, they can be highly successful, like you've been for sure, like a lot of
Yeah,
other agents.
this is not a game of skill; it's a game of determination. And I've always been the little brother in any group I've ever been in, so I always have a chip on my shoulder because I'm usually the smallest and the slowest and the tubbiest. But I'm not going to give up. And if it just comes down to a matter of who can get their ass beat the longest, I promise you it'll be me.
Yeah.
Because you kick me, I'll get knocked down 687 times and I'll stand up 688.
Yeah.
Because I know that there is no other avenue out there where I can make the kind of money I make with the amount of time that I spend working. Ridiculous. And I probably spend 25, 30 hours a week when I'm not in open enrollment. And I don't work Fridays. That's my golf day, which is
Yeah.
highly.
Dude, every time I see your golf posts, I get all freaking pissed because I want to go golf and then I never do.
Well, it's like another big thing from a hard lesson for me to learn is that rest is necessary.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't practice what I preach all the time. And when I have these conversations, it makes me realize how in the rat race I really become sometimes. Because as much as the fire has to have wood, the fire has to have oxygen. Then if you just continue to pile and pile and pile upon your fire cannot breathe, man.
Hmm.
So sometimes you just got to take a step back and enjoy the fire. It's not necessarily you cannot look at how far you have to go. You have to look at how far you've come. When I started this business, I had $300 in my bank account. I probably on average make $300 an hour at this
Mm.
point.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane. In 4 years.
Hmm.
When me and Hannah first started dating, before I started selling insurance, we had a grocery list, and I'll keep this picture on my phone, and it said bread, Cheetos, and three question marks.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, we went to Rome, Italy last year. We went
Yeah.
to Aspen this past year. We'll go to Athens, Greece next year. You know what I'm saying? It's
Hmm.
just a huge blessing, and it's an opportunity. And if you seize the opportunity and you don't give up, it's just and the biggest thing I think for newer agents is that they come in and compare. They're like, well, it's just Brian, and it's like, no, it's not just Brian. I've been doing this for 4 years, and I've cried many tears in my car,
Yeah.
many tears driving 3 hours from home while my girlfriend was at home pregnant with no car because we were broke.
Hmm.
It's not just Brian. It's not that Brian's just good at this.
Yeah.
Brian has tried really hard for a really
Right. Right.
so it that's my I think the biggest thing I can give to people is that you just can't quit because insurance is something that if you quit, it's something you'll stand in the shower and think about every morning for the rest of your life before you go clock in at Office Depot.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, if I just wouldn't have given up, what could have happened? And there's so many times that I've thought about quitting. I almost quit last year when the whole everything that we went through as a whole as a company. I was
Hmm.
like, this is ridiculous. Like I'm
Yeah.
done. And I was like, no, it's not. You're just being emotional.
Hmm.
And the first lesson I ever learned in this is that emotions will ruin your business. And anybody
Hmm.
that offer me say twice on this call, I'm gonna try not to start crying, but
Hmm.
I'm like the most emotional person probably that I know. And so learning to take my emotions out of the business roller coaster has been huge because it helped me
Right.
kind of take a step back and reevaluate and recenter and like, okay, well, you're on track to
Yeah.
and the thing for me is I can't like as far as goals go, man, I can't set a number goal as far as sales go.
Hmm.
Because if I do, like I said, I'm obsessive. And I come from a line of addicts, and my brother passed away due to drugs, and I have an addictive personality.
Hmm.
But it doesn't mean I have to be addicted to something bad. You got to
Right.
become something good. So now I'm addicted to winning the day. And
Hmm.
I'll be on the verge of doing something that's going to ruin my day, and it's like not ruin it, but ruin my win the day motto. And it's like, stop. Like you're on a streak. We're almost 7 days in of winning the day so far. Do not
Hmm.
mess
Yeah.
and it's just self-discipline and keeping going. So becoming that's my I was saying obsessive and addictive thing is that if I set a number goal of like if I want to sell $2 million this year, I won't sleep until I sell $2 million in insurance.
Hmm.
And I'm so enveloped in it, and my pipelines become so big, then I can't take a break because I have so much. And so you
Yeah.
have to give yourself some time to kind of figure out your seasons and averages. It's just like the seasons of the world. We've got spring, summer, fall, but you also have mega seasons. This is ice ages and global
Hmm.
warming, whatever. But
Yeah.
like there's bigger and smaller micro and macro seasons to this, and you
Yeah.
just have to remember that. Hey,
Hmm.
if it sucks right now, it's probably gonna get better tomorrow.
Hmm.
And if it doesn't get better tomorrow, it's probably gonna get better the next day, and eventually it will. But you just can't give up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's what you're doing. That's just being an entrepreneur. Anybody that's got ambition that wants to accomplish something and be the master of their own destiny when it comes to their work life. And that's just phenomenal advice for anybody. And I think that's another unique trait you have, man, is you have all that stuff in your back pocket, and it's not just bumper sticker stuff. It's stuff that you've had to gone through yourself, through trials and tears and perseverance. And so you speak with all that from the heart. And I think you offer a lot to the people that you work with because of your experience and your own perseverance and your skills and all the stuff you've built over time that you had to suffer through to get there. So that's great stuff. Um, Man, I appreciate all that. As we wrap this up, do you have any kind of final words? If people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Question, because I'm kind of taking a hiatus from social media, probably social media. I
Yeah,
will check every now and then, but
yeah. Just
Facebook or
just
you can
Brian Holden on Facebook.
find it. It's not brain, and it's Brian spelled with an I, not a Y. I spelled it the right
Oh,
way.
right. Yep.
And
Yep.
my cell phone number is 770-827-8908. Just text me and don't call me because I'm not going to pick it up if I don't know who you are.
Okay.
But I'm more than happy to help. I've said this from day one. It's anybody that's on my team or not on my team because there's no reason for me to hog my experiences and my I don't like saying knowledge because it makes me sound like a smart ass, but like what I've learned because the purpose of that is for me to help lessen the learning curve for the next person. And again, Mason Wilson is a prime example of that. That is my dude. We
Hmm.
sold life insurance together for a few years, and he randomly hit me up, and now he's been doing this for less than a year and has a passive income of like almost 8 grand a month.
Hmm.
And it's just crazy. Like I love the people I've worked with because they work hard, and success is addicting. Being around other people that are succeeding is addicting, and as much as this is a competition, it's a healthy competition because everybody wants to win, but the only way you lose is if you don't show up.
Hmm.
If you just continue to show up, you're winning. I think this is the last thing I'll say is that growth is a yes or no answer. Whether or not, and that's what I was saying, it's not how far you have left to go, but how far you've come. Whether you feel like if you sold one policy this week or not, you sold one more policy than you would if you weren't showing up.
Hmm.
And whether you gain an inch or a mile, man, growth is a yes or no answer. And I think that you cannot judge your success by other people's opinion of you. And that's another hard lesson that I've had to learn. That's a big reason why I have taken my break from social media is because I have bad problem with keeping up with the Joneses. You know, I
Mm,
didn't grow up with any money. And so now that I have money, I want people to say, "Oh, Brian, you're doing such a good job." But you know what? Those people's opinions don't matter. And that's just my ego. And so the business is a reflection of its owner. I have to remove my ego from all these things and just focus on being the best Brian that I can be. And that did I grow today? Yes. Did I get better today? Yes. And it's compounding effect.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. Awesome. Well, thanks again. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to do this.